Okay. Thank you all for attending my talk. It's a great pleasure to talk here today. So as you see in the title, today we are going to speak about Java and remote code execution. So sorry for assembly lovers. It's all about Java today. So yeah, let's start. So who am I? I'm Gregory Draperi. I'm pen tester, actually red teamer, security researcher, my spare time, specialized in Java security, and yeah, I love breaking stuff, and currently I'm a red team lead for a big insurance company. So what is it all about? As you saw in the title, Java is a big ecosystem. So we are going to focus on what we call two Java specification requests. So if we take from Wikipedia, the formal definition, it's formal documents used to propose some features on Java, for example, to support Bluetooth, to support whatever you can think about. So today, as I said, we are going to focus on two JSR, 241 and 341. You might have heard about Groovy, you might have heard about UGNL or MVEL. If you have heard about strut vulnerabilities, Elasticsearch vulnerabilities, it's all about this. So just to give some context, in 2012, there were some strut vulnerabilities that appeared at this time, and I was an application security consultant, and I had to work on the strut vulnerability to better understand how it was working, so in order to protect the company I was working for. That's how I entered in this field, and I started to look into the OGNL field. So just to define what are the two different requests. The first one is Groovy. As they define, I just took this from the JSR definition. It should be an agile programming language for writing scripts to interoperate with the Java SE platform. Basically, what developer wanted is they wanted to be able to execute some script at runtime without modifying the code. For the other one, Expression Language 3.0, basically it was for GSP and GSF, so web pages, Java web pages, to access to Java beans and to access to Java code at the runtime. Was so useful that they decided to extend the purpose of this. So basically, now you can find libraries, so OGNL, MVEL, and you can put this into your, I would say, your project, and you can leverage the functionalities they offer. So yeah, Java developers, they are smart guys, and they started to use these libraries to do a lot of different stuff. And they didn't, I would say, really masterize how to use it in a secure way. So it started to be bad. As I mentioned, I started in 2012 with some remote code execution in strut vulnerabilities. So what I'm going to do in this talk is I'm going to show you the different libraries, the different vulnerabilities I have been able to find, and I'm going to show you 5 demos, so it's quite challenging. Let's pray the demo gods to be sure that everything goes well. But yeah, I wanted to show you how impactful it can be. So yeah, let's start. Let's dig into this. So how bad is it? Let's dig. So Groovy, they define themselves by cooler than Java. It's widely adopted in a lot of Java projects to handle scripting and configuration tasks at runtime. So basically, there are two classes which are really dangerous. So groovy.util.eval and groovy.long.script. And there are a lot of functions defined in these two classes that can perform some code execution. So if you do code review with Groovy libraries, you need to focus on these two classes. So as an example, let's take Spago BI. Spago BI stands for Business Intelligence. And what you can see here, I extracted the source code, and you can see what they do. They create what they call a Groovy script engine. They eval an expression, and guess what? They didn't control the expression value. So yeah, I'm going to show you how bad it is. So let's start for the first demo. And I think this example is interesting because it's business intelligence, and you will find in a lot of business intelligence and other, I would say, Java project where some intelligence is needed, you will find scripting libraries. So right now we are in Spago BI. It's an authenticated remote code execution. We authenticate ourselves as BI user. And if we go, so QBE is their function to do some requests and to do some scripting into their tool. So if, for example, let's take this one. And basically what we need to do is just to replace the action. So yeah, I cheated a little bit, and here's the payload. And if replace, and if we do this, yeah, we should have a code that appears. So as you saw, and I just want to show you are a standard user in the tool, and you can execute some remote code execution. And what you need to understand is this kind of tool, if it means that if you guess a login password, you have code execution on the platform. Or if this platform is hosted on a cloud environment and it's shared by different consumers, it means that your data can be leaked if one consumer is compromised. So yeah, let's move forward. I need to retrieve my presentation. So yeah. So what are the different defense mechanisms? I mean, there are a lot of vulnerabilities regarding Groovy. So developers, they organize themselves, and they started to provide some sandboxing mechanism. So there is a class called Secure AST Customizer. But basically, what it does checking when it's compiled. It does not check at the runtime. So I would say secure is only in the name of the class. Yeah, so my second line. So do not rely on this class. But there are other projects that have been launched to perform dynamic checking. There is Groovy Sandbox, and this project is notably used in Jenkins. I don't know if you use Jenkins, but it's a wide project for everything which is related to DevOps, and you can do scripting in Jenkins. And they use this class to, I would say, to do sandboxing, because it happens that you give permissions to users to access to Jenkins, but you do not want that they do whatever they want. So they use Groovy Sandbox for this task. So this is some leads you can use and leverage if you are asked to support Groovy implementation. OGNL. As I mentioned at the beginning of my talk, if you have heard about thread vulnerabilities, basically it's OGNL. OGNL is really powerful. It's one of the most used expression language. It allows getting and setting properties. So set property and get property methods for in Java bin. And the class you need to focus on is get value, which is located in OGNL class. Basically, if you pass a script to get value, it's executed and it's code execution. So let's take another example. So it's pashmina. Pashmina is a library to implement network functionalities. It supports SSH, HTTP. You can use pashmina to implement, for example, SSH client. And they use OGNL to find some session. You can see here, we will see in the demo, but basically what they do is OGNL get value expression, and expression is not checked. So yeah, let's do the other demo. So this one is quite complicated, but I will try to be clear. So what we do to highlight this is I implemented a server using pashmina. So I'm going to launch this server on port 790. And I will connect to this, and I will show you what will happen. So let's start my Eclipse project. So my server is listening. Now what I need to do is I'm going to execute a telnet on this port just to simulate the client. Okay, it should be okay. So yeah, I'm connected. And now what I do is to highlight this, I'm launching another terminal. What pashmina does, it exposes some classes, and one of these classes is, as I said, one function which is called find session, and you can see OGNL query. So basically what I do is if I put some Java code execution, it will execute without any issue. Just give me some time, and yeah, basically in OGNL, what you just need to do some code execution. I'm sorry, it will be a little bit small. Yeah, but basically what you do is you get a class for name, so you will call the class Java process build. process builder, you will get the first constructor, and you ask for a new instance, and you say, please start the the GNOME calculator. So yeah, it generated an error, but as you saw, the calc is launched. So yeah, what I want to highlight is you will find this kind of vulnerability in really different places. So I'm going to stop my server. And yeah, let's. So yeah, it was to show you the kind of payload in the OGNL. And so what can we do? OGNL does not provide native mechanism for soundboxing. So it's basically regex and pray. Because your regex should be really strong. So I put what pashmina team did. They try to filter and to only accept alphanumeric character and I would say non-dangerous character. I just put strut regex just for the record because we spoke about the strut vulnerabilities. So this is a regex. If you understand something, please come to me after the talk. I'm really interested to understand it. Yeah, and I mean, as you can see, we are not sure they have thought about everything that can happen. What they have done so far is just when there is a new cases that appears, they customize the regex and they wait for the next one. MV here, really similar to OGNL, known as faster than OGNL, or it's what they say. So it also allows calling static methods, and there are sensitive functions in this class, MV here. So you need to be careful with these three functions: eval to string, and execute expression. So you can find the source code of MV here in their GitHub, and I'm going to show you some source code again. GBoss, GPPM. So I don't know if you know what the acronym BPM stands for, but it's Business Process Management. This kind of tool is used to define your process, your business process in your company. So in big company, it's really used. For example, if you have some goods that come from one country to another, you can define some process to check that everything went well, and so on. So it's really well used, and it allows to customize. This kind of tools needs to customize, to be customizable. So they really rely on this kind of libraries to allow users customizing. So if you look at the source, you can see that basically what they do, mvl.eval, we pass some source, and we just wait. So I'm going to show you again. So we do not need. So this is the interface for. I'm trying to remember the account. It should appear. Okay, it works. It is working. So I'm connecting to the application. It takes some time because I have burp in between. So what we need to do is, yeah, thank you, we don't need this. So it's loading. So once you are authenticated as a user, basically this user is a standard user, and you just intercept one request, and let's take a short one so we can, okay, send to the repeater. And just, I need to copy paste because the payload is quite complicated. And if we look, yeah, it's quite long, but basically what we need to focus on is, here you can see, I will try not to hide this. Basically in one parameter you have java.lang.runtime, get runtime.exec, and the GNOME calculator. So what we are going to do is we are going to pass this string to the MVEL evaluator, and we cross the fingers, it should, yeah, the calc should pop up. So yeah, as I said, I mean, you find this kind of vulnerabilities in a lot of different products. So even in products like GBoss, there are this kind of vulnerabilities. So let's move back to the slides. And MVL is like OGNL. They do not offer native mechanism to whitelist classes, and what they have done is to use a security policy. So what is a security policy in Java is basically a file where you say what your Java virtual machine can do or not. And what they did is they authorized read, create class loader, and access declare members. It's how they did. To be honest, it's quite complicated. And if you want to implement a Java security policy file, it's quite complicated. I don't know if some of you have really tried, but yeah, it's really, really granular. And yeah, it's time wasting to do that. Another one. So yeah, as I said, I want to cover all the expression languages implementation, and this one I would say is the most interesting one, because by default you don't expose functions. Basically, it's up to the developers to authorize functions, and what they do is they use the function set function in the class simple context to say, hey, I have implemented this class, and I authorize to my application to use this class. So if we go to Apache of Biz, so Apache of Biz is like an e-commerce platform, and what they did is they leverage Dual to do some exploitation expandation, and through these two functions. So on the first slide, I'm showing you where are the flows, and on the second slide, I'm going to show you what they have exposed. So you can see that they have exposed a lot of functions, and what you when you face dual implementation, basically it's a name, you will request the function, and it's the implementation of the function. So I'm going to show you in HofBiz how it was possible to leverage this to access to some sensitive content. So let's go back to my VM. So this is Apache HofBiz. It's a demo application, and if you enter in the parameter product promo code ID, $, and you put this, it's to highlight this vulnerability. So for example, if we do some math, yeah, you can see that the production code is 4. So yeah, basically it executed some maths for us. But what we do is we want to access to some sensitive code. So I'm going to show you how we can interact with the functions I showed you. So for example, instead of putting some maths, we are putting some so what I put is so what I did first is I'm asking Ofbis to read some document, and I ask Ofbis to transform this document as an HTML string. So the document I'm asking is one of the sensitive file of Apache Ofbis, but what we can do as well is we can also do some pass transversal attack. So yeah. So here you can see we do some pass transversal, and yeah, we are displaying the etc password file. So basically you can access any file you want. So yeah, if we go back to the slide, you can see that Joel is stronger, I would say. Is stronger than the other implementations, but you need to be careful with the functionalities you authorize. Yeah, be cautious. It's what I would recommend you to remind regarding Joel. Another one. So this one, GXL, is another implementation. Why it is interesting is because it's the Apache implementation. As I said in the beginning of the talk, there are a lot of different implementation with different approaches, and this one is the Apache implementation. It's not really used, but it's used in one product, which is Apache Syncope, which is a tool, an identity and access management tool. And you can see that they use in 2 different places, evaluate and exploitation evaluate without any sanitization. So yeah, let's start for another demo. I like this one because this one is, as I said, you will see that you can find vulnerability everywhere. So let's try. So I want to put a task to generate a task. So basically, a task is just I want to synchronize, for example, my LDAP directory with another with my database. And what I do is let's create a task. I lost my pointer, and let's create a new task. Just give me 1 second because I need to create a new task. And the demo effect. I forgot where to create the task. Here it is. So I should create a new task. No, it's this one. So in this one, it should be here. And if I name my user like this, no, it's not here. No, I'm not able to retrieve this, so I'm sorry. I'm going to move forward to other one. Yeah, I'm sorry about this. I need to remember. So just to specify what JXL library, the mechanism which are offered in this library, you can use some sandboxing. So what you need to do and what they have done is restrict classes allowed to be instantiated. You need to restrict the access to get class, because otherwise you can ask any class through the forName function. You need to restrict the access to resources such as file with a Java security policy, and you also need to limit the amount of time to execute, so you can avoid denial of service. There is a pointer here. You can use as, I would say, a guideline to implement a sandbox for GXL. So yeah, I think went fast. So what I wanted to highlight is JSR 241 and 341. They are powerful tools. They are not perfectly understood by developers, and in this case, it can lead to several vulnerabilities. They don't, expression languages, they don't natively offer strong sandboxing mechanism, so developers need to develop by themselves, leading to potential weaknesses in the sandboxes. And what I plan to do is to study sandboxes, as I mentioned, Jenkins, to have a look to struts, and other expression languages. I mean, the scope is quite big. For Java, there is Spring expression language implementation. In .NET, they have started to implement some expression language, PHP Symfony. And as I mentioned, all the business process management platforms. I think there is a great attack surface on this kind of tools. So yeah, as a takeaway, it's what I wanted to highlight. I don't know if there are questions. I'm happy to answer. Yeah.
Okay, are there any questions?
Thank you for those cool demos and the highlight. All the demos that you showed were in libraries.
Yeah.
In your role in an insurance, do you see a lot of developer using those features in custom application code, or is that more a feature that is limited yet to libraries and where where they use it?
For me, it's really well widespread. I just highlighted some open source implementation. I saw this in some internal development. I cannot show here, but I confirm you will find this kind of thing like OGNL, Groovy. You find a lot of Groovy usages in internal development. Thank you for the question.
Okay, other question? No? So thanks to Gregory.
Thank you very much.